प्रातस्मरामि हृदि संस्फुरदात्मतत्त्वम् सच्चित् सुखं परमहंस गतिं तुरीयम् यत् स्वप्नजागरसुषुप्तमवेति नित्यम् तद्ब्रह्म निष्कलमहं न च भूतसङ्गः। संसारस्वप्नतुल्यो हि रागद्वेषादिसङ्कुलः स्वकाले सत्यवद्भाति प्रबोधे सत्यसद्भवेत् तावत् सत्यं जगद्भाति शुक्तिकारजतं यथा यावन्न ज्ञायते ब्रह्म सर्वाधिष्ठानमद्वयम् उपादानेऽखिलाधारे जगन्ति परमेश्वरे सर्गस्थितिलयान्यान्ति बुद्बुदानीव वारिणि सच्चिदात्मन्यनुस्यूते नित्ये विष्णौ प्रकल्पिताः व्यक्तयो विविधाः सर्वा हाटके कटकादिवत् यथाकाशो हृषीकेशो नानोपाधिगतो विभुः तद्भेदाद्भिन्नवद्भाति तन्नाशे केवलो भवेत् नानोपाधिवशादेव जातिवर्णाश्रमादयः आत्मन्यारोपितास्तो ये रसवर्णादिभेदवत् पञ्चीकृतमहाभूत सम्भवं कर्म सञ्चितम् शरीरं सुखदुःखानां भोगायतनमुच्यते पञ्चप्राणमनो बुद्धि दशेन्द्रियसमन्वितम् अपञ्चीकृतभूतोत्थं सूक्ष्माङ्गं भोगसाधनम् अनाद्यविद्यानिर्वाच्या कारणोपाधिरुच्यते उपाधिकृतयादन्यम् आत्मानमवधारयेत् पञ्चकोशादियोगेन तत्तन्मय इव स्थितः शुद्धात्मा नीलवस्त्रादि योगेन स्फटिको यथा.
The manifested world of plurality is superimposed by imagination upon the eternal all-pervading Vishnu, whose nature is existence intelligence, just as bangles etc. are superimposed on gold. Verse 8 talks about the supreme reality as Parameshwara. The word used there is Parameshwara. Verse 9 uses the word Vishnu. So we said that though it is not the theme, or it need not be the intention of the author also, but it so happens that in next to next verse, Brahman is indicated by two names which are now commonly understood to represent two different deities of Hinduism only. But when you go to the depth, they are one and the same is implied here. Because maybe not in Adi Shankaracharya's period, or even before that. Adi Shankaracharya's period, it's commonly understood as 8th century, and the Mutts and other people understand it as 477 BC, I mean 2500 years back. Whatever be it, Adi Shankaracharya is said to have brought in 72 practicing religions under the umbrella of Advaita Vedanta. He did not intend to destroy them or condemn them, but he put them in the right place and made them understand that each and every one of them is ultimately going to lead to this Advaita philosophy. It is ultimately going to lead to this Advaita experience only. So what are those 72 religions? We do not know, but a name is attributed to him that he unified everything. Those 72 includes all types of darshana and other practices also, and certain worships of deities as independent by themselves also. So practice of worship of Vishnu and Shiva must have been there even before the time of Adi Shankaracharya. In the sense, we find the deities of Rudra, Aditya, Vishnu and Indra, all this in Vedic times itself. But the grand worship of these deities as murtis in the temples, that came much later. Otherwise, they were all worshipped in the form of mantras and through the yajna and rituals only. So there could have been possibility that even in his time, that those persons who are extremely attached only to the form of Vishnu or only to the form of Shiva may be prevalent also. So here, and Adi Shankaracharya is now followed as it is. Like after Ramanujacharya came, he very clearly established the reality to be a personal god of Vishnu, and those who follow, they are Vaishnavites, like that it came. Then post that, obviously on the other side, there have been a Shaiva Parampara, Kashmiri Shaivism, and in Karnataka you have the Lingayats and others who consider Shiva as the supreme, like that it has come. So here is a term that is used as Vishnu, and the previous verse used the term Parameshwara. If you go into the depth of the meaning, it relates to only the supreme reality. Just as in a modern English context, we use these terms religious and spiritual. Some people say that I am religious, but I am spiritual, not religious. And this is like a sort of a fashion now to say that I have nothing to do with religiosity, but spiritual being. So what is understood here? By spiritual, they mean they go into the tattva of it, philosophy of it. They are concerned with the outward practices of religion, which is what is commonly understood as religion now. And this religion could be various religions: Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, or Christianity, Islam. These are all religions. So if you are a Christian, you have certain practices, you have certain marks and identities and symbols that you have, like that it is. Like that is Islam. So these are clubbed under religious practices. So somebody may say, I'm not into any of this, but I'm spiritual. It can be understood from practical terms like that. But again, if you go into the depth of the term religion is derived from the Latin root religare, which means to get back to the original self. So to move back to the source is religion. Any attempt that you take to move back to the source is religion. So you use the body to do actions, you use mind to feel emotions, you use intellect to gain knowledge. All this is only to get back to that. It is not to enhance our worldly knowledge more, or even the scriptural knowledge more. The purpose is only to get back there. So religion essentially means that. It has now come to mean only the outward practices. It is not so. Essential aspect of religion is to get back. Similarly, spirituality, it comes from the word spirit. So we are made up of matter and spirit. A human being alone can focus on either the matter or the spirit. Animals and other creatures have no choice. If a person chooses to focus on the matter and identifies with the matter, which is the body, mind and intellect, he is a material person. A person who chooses to identify and attempts to shift the focus to the other side, the spirit, he is a spiritual person. Irrespective of what you do outwardly. Outwardly you can put a ochre robes and other thing, but where is your thought, where is your focus? That determines spirituality. So essential definition, if you go, both are not different, but from a superficial point of view and practical understanding, you may consider religion is this and spirituality like that. Like that, at a stage where a child is growing up, you can say there are various gods, and there is God of creation, there is a God of destruction, and Vishnu. Vishnu has a form, and his form is like this. He has chakra and other things. That is Vishnu. And Shiva is like this. He has this form, and he is worshipped as Linga also. He has Trishul in his hand. That is Shiva. So in that sense, there is a differentiation in the beginning stage. Then when he grows into a bigger understanding, a deeper understanding, and tries to inquire as to who in essence is this Lord Shiva, who is in essence is this Lord Vishnu. He is said to be in Vaikuntha, he is said to be in Kailasha. Where is that? What is that? What is it in principle? If they get into that tattva, then they understand it is the same reality, which is the unmanifest reality of Brahman. Brahman is referred to as Parameshwara, and Brahman is referred to as Vishnu. That the Sanskrit term means, Parameshwara means the Supreme Lord. Supreme Lord, just as each and every aspect of the Prakriti, nature, and each and every aspect of the individual is under the functioning and controlling of somebody, that Supreme Lord who is said to control this thing is referred to as Parameshwara. Ishvara means Lord. Parameshwara means the Supreme Lord. Vishnu means all-pervading reality. That which is there everywhere, that is Vishnu. So that is why in this verse he uses the term Anusuyate, also all-pervading. All-pervading term is also referring to Vishnu. Brahman is referred to as, with reference to time, he is referred here as Nitya. Nitya means eternal. Eternal is that which is there at all points of time, which is there the same in the past, present and future. We can also extend it to say that it is beyond time. Beyond time means a stage where time, space and causation is not there, also it is there. So in some places in Gita also they use the term Puratana. Puratana means ancient. Ancient means before everything. Before everything means before time also. Nitya means that which is there, pervading all points of time also. So therefore what it means is time, space and causation are appearances in Brahman. Brahman continues to remain. This is what we saw in the waves example in the previous verse. Anusyute, all pervading. In essence, this verse says, the manifest world of plurality is nothing but Brahman only. The example given is, ornaments are there. Ornaments are superimposed upon the gold. Gold is the reality. It is not that gold is there upon which ornaments come and appear. Gold itself appears as the ornaments. Gold is not different from the ornaments. The real cause, which is the gold, is seen as the effect, which is the ornaments. In essence, they are not different from each other. Gold and ornaments are one and the same. The parallel is, then all this world, the names and forms, which is called Nama Rupa, is superimposed upon Brahman. Brahman itself appears as these names and forms. How is it possible? He says, Prakalpitaha. It is by imagination. This is what was explained in the previous verse. You can use the term Maya, which is a technical term, but very simple term that is given here. It is your imagination. A boy imagines the snake upon the rope. It is superimposed upon the rope. So this is Prakalpitaha. Now, how do we say that the cause itself appears as the effect? You will find that upon any superimposition, you take any practical example like rope, snake also, you will find that what is being superimposed has to have more or less the same qualities as the substratum. You cannot superimpose anything and everything upon anything and everything. It's not possible. If a floor is there, if a person is hypnotized, he can superimpose a lake upon the floor. That's possible. But you cannot say there is a pen, you imagine this to be a lake. What is the parallel there? Or how can he superimpose that? That it is not possible. when there is a floor or a plain ground or something like that, and he can try to go fishing in it also. That's possible. If there is a rope, then you can superimpose a similar type of thing upon the rope, which is a snake, or it could be some other reptile like the snake, or it could be a water hose pipe, which is also coiled, which is also curved, something like that. Or it can be a crack on the earth. Your rope is there, you think there is a crack on the earth. That is possible. You cannot superimpose elephant there. That's not possible. Why? Elephant and rope do not share any common qualities. Here the common qualities are shared here. So here is one theorem here, that whatever you imagine or you superimpose, it must, what you superimpose, what you imagine must essentially have the similar qualities that is there. And what is interesting is, these qualities are nothing but the reflection of the original which is there. The imagination of snake alone is in your mind, but the moment you do it, immediately the qualities appear. And where do the qualities appear from? The qualities appear from the original. The original's qualities gets reflected in the imagination, whatever you have imagined. It's a very interesting phenomenon. So exactly like that, the moment the world is imagined, and what is the world? Whatever you imagine is the world. Whatever you imagine is the world. Whatever is there is only Brahman, upon which whatever you imagine is the world. But the world that you imagine, whatever world anybody imagines, has a reality in itself at that point of time. An ant will project only ant's world, isn't it? An ant which is born in this corner and it dies in the corner, and it may walk a few meters before it dies, and its lifespan is very short, or a mosquito or a bacteria, whatever it is. But the point is, it is also inhibiting a world which it is projecting, where it is undergoing all these changes and it is experiencing certain things. So a fish does not know of a world which is beyond the water, isn't it? Fish does not know, let us say, existence of a desert or a mountain or anything. It does not know. It lives, is born and dying in the ocean, but that is its world. So each and every person is projecting something. That world that he projects is actually real, very real at that point of time. It seems to be there at all point of time. It is eternal at that point of time. It continues to be there at point of time. So the moment the world is projected, it immediately gains that quality of reality in it fully. This quality of reality, where does it come from? It is only coming from the substratum, which is the reality. And how do we say it? We say it because it says here, Satchidatmani. The Svarupa, which is going to be explained in detail in, I think, verse 24 or something. The Svarupa Lakshana means that very inherent, you can't even say for Brahman quality, but the inherent nature. Inherent nature of Brahman is always represented or indicated by the term Satchit Ananda. In this verse, he uses the word Sat and Chit. Ananda he has not used here because he says Vyaktayaha. Vyaktayaha means manifest. When it comes to manifestation, these two terms are important. Sat and Chit are important. We'll see how. So the moment there is this world that is projected, immediately two sets of qualities are born. The qualities of the reality and the qualities of the world. The qualities of the world are nothing but the reflection of the qualities of reality. So Brahman is real, that is why the world appears to be real. And what is reality? Reality is called as Sat. Sat is that which exists at all points of time. For us, this world appears real. It seems to exist for eternity. It was there, it is now, it will be there. When and how it will go, when and where it came from, we all do not know. It is absolute real. Absolute reality is what we believe. Vedanta says it is not so, because this is the same feeling you had in the dream also. When you were dreaming, you had that reality experience there. But once you woke up from the dream, you knew that it was It had never a beginning at all in the first place. It was just a projection, appearance in the mind for some time. That's about all. Like that it is. But no, this world we are not able to imagine like that. But it has the same parallel here. So, this absolute existence is the inherent nature of Brahman. And that Sat is what is getting reflected here. So, here, even from our experience, we see that each and every object and being exist. So, with reference to the manifestation of all gross bodies, including the physical bodies, meaning bodies of all the dead matter also, there is an existence. You say this door exists, or this camera exists, or table exists, beings exist. When you say existence of some being, you refer it with reference to the body. So, the manifestation with reference to all gross bodies is called as Sat. And then the manifestation at the subtle level, it is referred to by the term Chit. How do you know it exists? I know it exists. Each and every being is conscious of its existence, conscious of the world around it. This conscious principle, which is seemingly there in us, is nothing but the reflection of that supreme consciousness, which is the inherent nature. So, Sat and Chit are the inherent Svarupa. Svarupa is the term that is a proper word, inherent nature you can say, of Brahman. That Satchidatmani, upon that, when you project something, these qualities of Sat and Chit seems to get reflected in all the experience that we have. And all the experiences in the manifest world are within the realm of the gross bodies and subtle bodies. Gross body exists, subtle body knows. Meaning there is a knowledge principle, knowing principle that is there in the subtle body. This is exactly the same as how bangles and chain and ring and various other ornaments are superimposed upon gold. When they are superimposed upon gold, the gold remains as it is only. It is only a person who is caught up in the name and form fails to see the gold. Gold has not, once it has changed into ornament, it does not change into iron or something. Gold remains as gold. So gold pervades at all points of time, that is what it is. The existence of the bangle is dependent on the existence of the gold, not the other way around. Gold you can melt and make it into some other thing, but gold will remain. So gold's existence is independent of it, but the ornament's existence is dependent upon it. A person who has realized the self, who is a Brahmagyani, he sees only that Satchit Atma, the Satchit Ananda principle, which is the Brahman. All of us who are Ajnani see the principle of names and forms. Names and forms and some function, this is what we are caught up in. Name and form is just a superimposition. Exactly like a goldsmith sees only the gold. When you can say, you can take a well crafted gold, but when you go there, he only sees what is the weight, that's about all. Gold is what is important for him. It can be in any shape. He is going to melt it and use it for something else. So gold is what is the vision of a goldsmith. Or you can say a thief. A thief who goes into the jewelry shop, he doesn't choose only bangle or chain or anything. Anything that is gold for him. Like that is the vision of a enlightened person. He sees only gold. All others who are interested in the specific karya, work of that. So bangle cannot be worn here or a chain cannot be worn on the legs. So they are interested only in the name and form. This is the essence of this. Yes.
So I'm confused about the word substratum. We go back to, I think, chapter 8 or chapter 9 of Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna says that a foolish person sees that I'm holding the world, and a wise man thinks that the world is inside me, and the Tattva Buddhi believes that there's no difference between the world and me.
Sorry, come again?
In one of the verses, Krishna says that a foolish person believes that I'm holding the world, and a wise person believes the world is inside me, and the Tattva Buddhi believes there's no difference between me and the world.
No, in 9th chapter he does not exactly say that. Krishna deliberately uses certain terms to create more and more confusion and makes it finally clear. I think if you are referring to verses 4 and 5 of chapter 9. Can you give me that Gita?
So So substratum is a bit of a contradiction or a very
No, not contradiction. I'll just read out the verse. I'm not going into the detail of that verse. And then you read about it because it's a very, very interesting portion. One of the best portions is the first 10 verses of chapter 9. Very subtle portion. And there verses 4 and 5 is given in such a way that as though it is very confusing, but there's a deep thought there. And certain Sanskrit words are very, very carefully used there. And then he makes it very well clear. And then he goes on to say what is the relationship between he and the Prakriti in the next few verses. Verse 4 says, all this world is pervaded by me in the unmanifested form. All beings dwell in me, I do not dwell in them. Okay. He says, all these beings dwell in me, I do not dwell in them. In verse 5 he says, nor do beings dwell in me. In the previous verse he says, all beings dwell in me, I do not dwell in them. In the next verse he says, nor do beings dwell in me, behold my divine yoga. Bringing forth and supporting things, myself does not dwell in them, he says. So there is an apparent contradiction in these two verses. So I would say you go through this verse and have a thinking about it. And then he goes on to say that what is the Maya Adhyakshena Prakriti, all those things come here. How does he, being the presiding entity over the Prakriti, how he makes it operational like that. Then he starts again by saying that I do everything, and then slowly he withdraws himself and he says Prakriti only does everything, I am only the presiding deity there, I have nothing to do. I am just like the President of India, he is the supreme head, but he has no powers. But without a signature, nothing will happen. Finally, all the ordinance and everything comes to him for signature, like that it is. He is the supreme presiding deity. I don't do anything. In the 10th verse, he completely withdraws himself from the activity and puts the onus completely upon the Prakriti. So I would say you go through that portion and come up with that question.
So again, though you've explained, kindly you can explain in detail, you have said Vishnu here is perceived to be Brahman, right?
Vishnu is.
But in one of the verses, again, I think 8 or 9, when Krishna says that whosoever worships the deity goes to the deity, whosoever worships me comes to me. So, if here Vishnu is perceived as Brahman, then it is fine. Otherwise, is there any contradiction there?
No contradiction. If you are able, that is a very important portion of Gita, particularly those who are worshipping various forms of gods. Each and every form of God must be understood as a manifestation of the supreme reality and worship. Okay. If a person is going to worship something as an end in itself, he has only a relationship to that end. So he says, those who worship nature go to nature, those who worship the Pitrus go to Pitraloka, and those who Bhutani Yanti Bhutejaha, those who worship me come to me. So if they are able to worship me means the self, they are ultimately going to come to the self. So even as you worship a Indra, or a Rudra, or a Vishnu, or a Kartikeya, or anybody, if you are able to understand them as a manifestation or part of that supreme entity, in other words, Indra could be the hand of the supreme, Surya could be the eye of the supreme, Chandra, moon god is the mind of the supreme. But when you worship moon god, you do not just worship him as a Chandra god by himself, but understanding himself to be the manifestation of mind of the supreme, like that, then your connection is with the supreme only. So that person ultimately, through the worship of this particular deity, ultimately goes there. So that is the beauty of our worship, that you can take up Lord Ayyappa or Ganesha or Shakti, any deity for that matter. If you are able to visualize them as the manifestation of the supreme reality, but your mind has a comfort in worshipping them in this way, it's perfectly okay. And we need not worry about whether I am worshipping somebody in a Saguna form, ultimately the Nirguna Brahman, there need not be any worry about that. It is a misunderstanding if it will not lead to that. As long as the ultimate Vedantic understanding of that self in me is the self in all beings, with this thought in the background, any other form of worship, any other form of ritual, anything that you do is going to ultimately take you there. Yes, sir.
No, I think I got the answer partly. It is because we can see the rope, we can see the snake. The superimposition and the similarly, we can see the gold, we can see the ornament also. But when we see about so many goddesses and gods, we are not able to see the origin. The Brahman we are not able to see. Is that the reason why we have so many gods and goddesses? Goswami Tulsidas had a real problem when he went to Puri. So he said, my God is not like this.
Right. The thing is, with reference to this example, it has a limitation. But when you said that we can see the gold and we can see the ornaments, we can see the rope, and we can see the snake. In the example that you gave, we cannot see the Brahman, but where do we see the gods? And then that's also not part of the meaning. Exact parallel is not there. But before we go into the different gods, when you say we see the gold and we see the ornaments, if you have seen the gold, can you explain to me how the gold is?
It could be a coin, it could be a slab.
Again, you are describing a coin. I don't want coin. Gold.
Qualities.
What is gold? Actually speaking, what we see,
The manifestation.
we see only, unless otherwise there is a nama rupa here also we do not know. Even if you say the raw gold which is there taken from the earth as it is, you can call it raw gold, impure gold, pure gold, whatever it is. You cannot know what it is as a very pure gold. Just as in the example, it is a, but I am saying that example has a limitation. But if you go into the depth of it, it is actually startling. Swami Ramtirtha very famously gives this carbon example, charcoal and diamond. Carbon in one form is charcoal, carbon in another form is diamond, having diametrically opposite qualities. This we discussed. But what is carbon per se? That also in some form or the other only we know. So what we know in essence is only the name and form, nothing else. Exactly like that, when it comes to the supreme Brahman or reality without any form, without any attributes, which is what is appearing as form. Exactly what is what, that is what is going to, the next verse is going to say. Verse 10 is going to say that only. It is the nameless, formless, attributeless, whatever reality that appears in varied names, varied forms, varied color, varied shape, whatever it is. And Krishna uses the term Ananta Rupas, infinite forms. It is not that some big number, any number of. Now, why is it that the gods and goddesses are going to be manifest in such a way? It is only because of the varied nature of our minds. Our minds are so much, so the Rishi ingeniously gave an idea as to whichever way that your mind is functioning, according to that you may be able to perceive the reality. So a person who is pursuing knowledge is able to visualize the reality in the form of Saraswati. A person who is pursuing wealth is able to visualize the reality in the form of Lakshmi. Anything, success, power, whatever you want. All these things are nothing but various forms and names only. A person who is able to relate to the ultimate reality as a Nirguna Brahman and he is able to do the sadhana based on that, that is also okay. But as you said, very many majority in the world will find it difficult. That is why it is better if you are having a personal God which is appealing to you. And here is again no contradiction. This understanding is there, but you are comfortable in worshipping this way. You can have it. So once that fixation goes, what Krishna talks about in 9th chapter as Ananya Bhakti. Ananya Bhakti is not this God vis-a-vis the other gods. That is at one stage. But at the later stage, no other thing is seen. So when Tulisidasa, if I am right, goes to Vrindavan, and he keeps Ramayana and he keeps reading that, and it is said that Lord Krishna appears there and he is distracted because all his focus is only on Rama. He is distracted. He tries to constantly focus on this, but as he is doing, some form is there distracting him. So ultimately he says, you have to appear in my Lord's form, only then I will be able to concentrate. So he said that he came as Lord Rama. Same thing with Ramadas also. He would, all the Maharashtra Bhaktas and everybody in Karnataka and Maharashtra, Panduranga is the most important deity for them. So many sages and saints were there. But Ramadas had nothing against him, but he would not go there. But for him, Rama means Rama, nothing else. He is considered like a Amsha or avatar of Hanuman only. He will not see anybody else. It is by trick that he was forced into that temple. It is said, the legend is that Lord himself came in the form of Shivaji Maharaj and he made some temple function or something. He put the order and he went like that. When he went there, there's no function or anything. Having come all the way, he could not enter the temple. And when he enters there, he says, who says this is Poornam? This is Rama standing here. Can you not see that bow there? This is not Rukmani. This is Sita. This is how he saw. That means the Lord was able to. So if a person has that fixation, he has that reality is what he perceives, and that reality in that form has become a part and parcel of him. It is like, this is Ananya Bhakti, you can say Ananya Nishta also, that no other Nishta, no other fixation is there. That fixation only leads you, because all that we can come up to the point is that point to have that single pointed fixation. Finally, how that single pointed fixation goes away and merges into the Supreme, that is not in our hands. That single pointed fixation, which we call as meditation, whatever it is, it can be in any way. So if you are having the deep rooted fixation, Moksha Ishyami Ma Shuchaha is somebody's promise. He says, don't worry, last thought, to remove it from you is my responsibility. He is going to remove it and grant you that liberation. So therefore, if you say, if that is a problem, I would say that is a good problem to have. If anybody has that sort of a fixation and not deviate whatsoever. Not only that, assuming this God and other gods and host of gods are also functional, it is said that all other gods, suppose if, let's say a person is Shiva Bhakta, then all other gods are also pleased and happy only if your fixation is there fixed on one. They are also happy and they will do everything for you to go further if your fixation is upon one. Saint Tyagaraja was fixated on Lord Rama like that. He eat, his eating, his sleeping, his dreaming, everything was Lord Rama only, nothing else. And he used to do this puja on a daily basis to that Vigraha, the Murti of Rama. One day he was very sick and he could not perform. His wife said, I'll arrange somebody else, or I myself will do according to what I know. He said, no, I'll do it. Like, he was somehow not wanting to leave that practice. But it was too tiresome and difficult for him to even get up. He needed some treatment at that point of time. So, an unknown lady suddenly came. She went into his kitchen and prepared some medicines, applied on him, etc. Within few minutes or half an hour or so, he got all right and he was performing. So after he finished everything, he asked his wife, who was that who suddenly came and treated me? She said, we do not know. She doesn't belong to, I have not seen her in this village, but you could have asked her. She said her name was, I forgot, Dharmamba or something, Dharmamba. And she's here only, like that she said, and he vanished. And they searched and searched, he could not find. Actually, the legend is the presiding deity of that village where he was seeing, which is Lord Shiva and his consort. They are the main deity of that village. She only had come, this is the story. In other words, that his nishtha towards Rama and his bhakti should not be hindered in any way is what is the concern of the other god also. This story is only to aim that. So all that we need to be concerned about is if you are able to get that fixation. Similarly, with reference to even study of scriptures, what Swamiji always focuses on, focus is this. You take only the Gita or only Vedanta treatises and you go deep into it, that itself will lead you. One need not worry about at all. And other, like Pandits, we can have a score of others texts and textbooks that might kindle our intellectual curiosity and it will help us to know various things. But what ultimately is important, rather essential. I'm not saying this is non-essential, but vis-a-vis that is more essential, that you need to have that fixation. The fixation in any form which you consider as reality is ultimately going to take you there. Yes, sir.
Sir, is it possible that a person like a Charvak philosophy or a totally tamasic person may not see the substratum at all, because the question of substratum comes only when you believe that there is only one principle which is working. One principle may be, somebody says, like we say fixation, Rama, everybody say it's all Rama's doing, he is doing everything and all. And so whoever watches Shiva or Krishna will say it's all Krishna's Leela and they are doing it. A person who doesn't believe in any god or any such thing, is it possible that he will not see any substratum at all?
And according to Charvak philosophy, the matter or the material is the substratum. That is the whole thing. In fact, if you want to fit it in the equation, for them consciousness is also a product of matter. Like how the modern scientists say in a different way that how is consciousness produced? They think it is produced, and that producing is, they don't know how, but they say some chemical reaction, something or the other. So for them the reality, the substratum is the world by itself. That is why in the 16th chapter Krishna says they will talk in the most gross way. Why do you bring in God and other people for creation of this universe? Aparaspara sambhutam kimanyat kama hetukam. By mutual union of lust, these things are producing and they will continue to have. Why do you have to bring in God and other factors for this? In the most gross way they say. For them this materiality is this thing. So what about Atma? Atma, it's born and it is dead. It is born, you are born during birth and dead. And what is this thing, then ultimate aim of happiness and all? We eat, enjoy, that is the happiness. You completely enjoy. So their philosophy also sort of mapped into all the things that we say, but for them the substratum, the manifestation, whatever it is, ultimately it is the matter. Matter alone is sort of real. Material philosophy is their philosophy. Yes, sir.
We are looking at different gods and goddesses. So let us take an example of Lakshmi and Durga and Saraswati. Fundamentally, there is a tattva is different. The thought behind each one is knowledge, power, and this thing.
Sorry, tattva is the same. The underlying reality is the same. According to you, the differentiation is in your mind, that a person pursues knowledge, a person pursues money or whatever it is. In essence, he is also pursuing something in the world. Whatever you are pursuing in the world. Mind is turned extroverted. For the mind which is turned extroverted, going all out into the world, to pull it back and say you think about God, reality, it is impractical. It is not easy. So the rishis ingeniously found out a way. They saw where are the areas that the mind is going. Wherever it is going, they said ultimately this is the reality that you are pursuing. So the thought association of reality along with your pursuit is personified in different way. So therefore the core tattva of what is essentially Lakshmi, what is essentially Saraswati, what is essentially Durga, they are not different. It's not different. For them, you ask a person who is pursuing money, who is God, what is God? Lakshmi is God. Who is Lakshmi? She is the transcendental reality. That's what he will say. Somebody who is pursuing success, he worships Ganesha. Who is Ganesha? Ganesha is the God. Ganesha is the transcendental reality. For them, whatever is the idea of God, etc., that fits into each one of them. So, tattva wise, it is not different.
So this is leading to a situation of a dvaita.
Which is leading?
When we are fixated on any one god or goddess, in that sense, then you are looking at God as someone else and you as a bhakta or that, right?
That is, in the beginning stage, that is there. Correct.
But
each and every one of us, as of now, you are at a stage where you believe that you are this individual. As long as the body, mind, intellect is there, Dvaita is there. Mind, moment, antakarana, mind is there, Dvaita is there, definitely there. So this knowledge slowly will raise your level from the state of plurality to duality to unity, which is the self. Till that point of time, as long as you believe yourself to be individual, Dvaita will be there, definitely.
the question I'm trying to phrase is that most of the other gods, like maybe not rightly said, but we have a sort of a hierarchy of gods and goddesses, and in the hierarchy, then Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh sort of go towards the
hierarchy. Who is creating? For a person, and the hierarchy also in the sense that Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh is the supreme. It is see, even then in the question of these three, who is the supreme of these three? There is a hierarchy there also you can form. It is all according to each and every person's attitude and mentality. So, in order to get the fixation, what they will do is, see, suppose as I said, in the beginning stage, there is this god and other gods are there. So let us say you come in the tradition of worshipping Krishna or something like that, and you are comfortable, you are fed those thoughts in the beginning, you have affiliation with that. In order to get your fixation completely into Krishna as the reality, you are, let us say, you may read and indulge more in Bhagavat and other stories and Puranas which are revolving around Krishna. And then in that Bhagavat, you will find that there is a fight between two forces, which is one force is supported by Krishna, one force is supported by Shiva, and Shiva's force will get defeated. Why is this given? It is both are same reality, but why is it? My God is the supreme God. This thought is again fixed. He is the supreme, most powerful God. So like that, you get even more deep rooted there. That is why you will go into some other Purana, you will find that Asura who has the blessing of Shiva, him Vishnu is not able to defeat. So who is the Asura becomes more powerful than Vishnu? No. Shiva's power is the supreme power. Like that is fixated in the mind of him. So you are not even asked to read all the... When I say a Pauranika whose work is to deal in research with Puranas or other scriptures, let him do it, which is not the entire humanity. You are asked to get hold of your stories. You are asked to get deep rooted in your traditions, your practices. All this is a stage where you are Mannatha Sri Jagannatha, Madguru Sri Jagadguru. My Guru is the best Guru. My Lord is the best Lord. If that feeling is not there, your faith may seem to shake. So in order to get that faith, all that, these are the LKG and other stages where you come. Then you come to a stage where you actually do not bother about other gods at all. Because you are so engrossed and you don't have any time or inclination to even think about whatever it is. You are so fixated in it. And then a stage comes where there is no awareness of existence of other gods. All other gods are nothing but merged into this only. And then finally this also merges into that supreme reality. So all this is in stages. So step by step one has to go to the higher. At whichever stage, wherever you are, so there is no absolutely dvesha or hatred which is created or differentiation with other gods. It is into one reality that everything finally gets merged. So in the initial stage, a thought is fixated in a strong way. Once that thought becomes stronger and stronger, that will take care of other things by itself. So then you go into that Advaita Bhava that Tulasidas or Tyagaraja, they did not see Krishna as somebody other than Rama or Shiva as somebody other than. It is all merged into final reality which they perceived as Rama. That's about it. There's no Dvaita Bhava.
Swamiji gave an example on developing different qualities in yourself, and then he gave an example of a sort of a test tube where there are different shapes of different sizes and some round, some long, all these test tubes, and they are at the bottom. They are they are fixed with a common this thing. And he says you pour water in one of them, and then ultimately all of them will get the same level. So he says, develop one quality, one good quality, and it will help you to develop all the other qualities. Will that example be also relative over here, that if I am creating bhakti for one god or goddess, then that will help me to develop?
No. It is that example is only in that. If you be focused and inspired about a particular quality in the 35 qualities of Bhakta and all it is given, meaning how to develop all these qualities, the moment we see even then we may feel pessimistic about this. Don't worry. Whatever is inspiring that you develop one or two, you will find that all other qualities automatically coming up because you are filling the base. Once the base is getting filled, it will equally percolate at all levels and all other qualities will also come up. That is the very specific scope of that example. That cannot be fitted in here. Here the Ananya Bhakti is with reference to going towards a stage where you don't see anything else apart from Brahman. To that, step by step, it is taking you there.
So in that sense, having Ishta Devta is very critical in that.
It is, in other words, it is very conducive, and if you are able to have a affiliation, just as whether nowadays people meet before and get into a marriage, or in the good old days where the arranged marriage was much more a norm, where somebody else fixes the partner for you, that fixation with one partner is critical. That is what is the essential aspect of the marriage that is going to go through. And it is conducive in your journey. It is conducive in your journey if you have that fixation. Like that, in the spiritual path also, to have fixation in one guru is conducive. Not to jump from here and there and one path to other path, like that it is conducive. Similarly, all this will finally lead to, because the other practices lead to spiritual practice ultimately, and in spirituality the guru shows you that this is God, and once he has shown, it is ultimately your relationship with God. So if there is a fixation there, it is easy and conducive, and Ishta Devata is something that will help you. Usually whatever the family and other things, because the children observe the father or mother and then they absorb it. This will be the most cases. And in a particular area, see, suppose if you go to Odisha, many people will be Jagannath is Jagannath. Even in any other temple, suppose they build other temple of Shiva or anything also, there could be one small Jagannath there in the top. That means to say that he is the supreme, something like that. So automatically those people will have a strong affiliation towards Jagannatha. That is the mahat of that land also. Ganesha, it could be in Maharashtra. Like that it is. It could be place specific or your family specific, or it could be anything. Or apart from any other thing, by some inspiration, it could be anything else also. Paramahamsa had a universal mother Kali as his one and only form, which he was able to visualize. That does not mean he is against Radha or Krishna or anybody else. But for him, he was able to relate like that. If that fixation is there, for you to, let us say, turn towards the Supreme in terms of crisis or something, if there is any personal thing like that, it becomes easy for you even to communicate, and it is easy for you to go ahead. So in that sense, it is, I do not know whether we can say it's 100% necessary, but it is definitely a very, very conducive factor if you have it.
So guru in human form is absolutely necessary.
Again, it is exactly like that. It is, you may give off an example where there are people who have probably not had a guru and realized the self also, but it is that we need to probably know and go to their previous janmas as to that they have finished all the sadhana and waiting for realization here. Otherwise, without guru, it is like swimming against the Ganga current and going. If you ask, can I not do it? Yes, if you have the power, you can do only, is the answer. But who can do it? It is just not possible. So to have that a living guru and to take guidance from him and go ahead is the easiest path, relatively easy path. Yeah. The manifested world of plurality is superimposed by imagination upon the eternal, all-pervading Vishnu, whose nature is existence, intelligence, just as bangles, etc. are superimposed upon gold. We'll chant verse 10.
यथाकाशो हृषिकेशो नानोपाधिगतो विभुः तद्भेदाद्भिन्नवर्थाति तन्नाशे केवलो भवेत्.
Like all-pervading space, the infinite reality appears to be diverse on account of its association with various types of equipments, Upadhis, and become one on their destruction. The famous space example is given. As I said, you can go from verses 6 to 11 or 6 to 10. Various examples from different angles are talking about the absolute reality. The dream example, the oyster and the silver example, wave and the ocean, and ornaments and the bangle. Here it is the space. Various angles are covered of that supreme reality as the only thing. And how the material equipments, they superimpose the world upon Brahman. The superimposition is explained here. And what is the actual thing which is responsible for the superimposition is your upadhi or equipment. essentially your antakarana, which is included in this gross body. So the gross, subtle and causal bodies are the upadhi, are the equipments which superimpose world upon Brahman. So therefore after this verse, or rather after the next verse, he is going to deal with the upadhis in detail. Detail in the sense each one verse is allotted to each of this. One to gross body, one to subtle body, and one to causal body. The space example is very famous and very profound. Space is indivisible and space is all-pervading. Obviously, all-pervading is therefore indivisible. But in practicality or practical usage of terms, we say or we understand room space, pot space. So we refer to suppose you take this room, the space contained in this room. Pot space means the space contained in the pot. So therefore, the walls of the room or the wall of the pot seem to limit the space. Actually, this is the crux of the imagination. The imagination, or when we talked about the concept of Maya, we say everything is ulta, right? This is the ulta thing. It is actually, we feel that the space is in the room or space is in the pot. But what is the reality? The reality is that pot is in the space. Room is in the space. The whole Calcutta, whole country or the world or universe, that is there in the space. Space is too subtle for all these things. But in our ignorance, in our what we see as a very practical usage, we just reverse and say the ulta, that space seems to be inside the room, which is not so. What causes this sort of something? When you say wall of the room or wall of the pot, what is immediately created is there is something inside and something outside. Something inside and something outside is created only when there is an equipment. Here in this case, the equipment is the pot or the room. In our case, inside and outside is created when there is antakarana or the subtle body. The moment you have a mind, only then all this is there. You have something within and something outside. And when you refer to the self within you, you are talking about the Atma in this person, Atma in that person, Atma in the animal, like that. This is the misnomer. Actually, all the gross bodies, subtle bodies, everything are nothing but appearance on the indivisible supreme Atman. But what happens is, because of the equipment, they seem to be divided and seem to be placed in each and every entity, each and every being. So we gave that example of, imagine we don't have a board here. There is a big board in which you draw a circle. The moment the circle comes, what is there? There is something within the circle and something outside the circle. So, what is inside the circle? Inside the circle is the board only. What is outside the circle? Outside the circle is board. So, if you say then inside the circle is board, when did the board come inside the circle? Actually, yes, you can say the moment you draw only all this problem comes, but the board never came inside the circle. It was a circle that appeared on the board. The moment the circle appeared on the board, which is the imagination, then you create an imaginary inside and imaginary outside, all those things is there. Therefore, he says, when you rub off that circle, what happens? You can say that space, the board inside the circle has merged with the board outside the circle. For convenience sake, you can say, but it is a stupid statement because board was never divided in the first place. Where is the question of merger there? It is like a misnomer. So he says, like that only the merger takes place in this verse. He refers to that. The law is that the gross cannot control the subtle or influence the subtle. The matter which the pot is made up of or the room is made up of, they are gross compared to the space itself. So they cannot limit the space. That the space seems to be limited by these things is our stupidity, it's our imagination. Okay. Now if you believe it is limited, and if you believe these are the equipments that are there which is limiting it, therefore he says, you tannashe kevala bhavet. You break the equipments. You break the equipments. You break means you transcend the equipments. Upon that breaking, this and that will automatically get merged. That is always this unity that you will feel. So it is a very interesting phenomenon that the attribute-less, quality-less, whatever-less, everything, nirguna, nirakara, nishkriya, whatever, that Brahman, which is without any attribute or quality, appears in a manifest quality, appears in a manifest spectrum of colors and names and forms and everything. It is only because that it is passing through the prism of the equipment. So in your book you can refer later, in this verse there is a diagram given of a colorless light passing through the prism. Colorless light, when it passes through the prism, it seems to disintegrate and appear as vibgyoric spectrum of colors on the other side. All the 7 colors seem to come like a rainbow on the other side. It's a magic. If, of course, those who know physics, they may not consider it, but for all of us, it's like even otherwise, how does it happen? Physics will explain how it happens. But a phenomenon which is like Ashcharya, how is it that a prism which is there, it is able to show colors? Ultimately, we see no color here. But what is interesting is, there is no color appears as diversified colors. But you cannot say there is nothing or no light. Light is there. Light is there, invisible to you. But that light becomes visible in all glory and all colors when it passes through the spectrum of the prism. If you remove the prism or break the prism, it merges as it were. There's no merger, it becomes one as it were. So, in this verse he says, the Atma in you and the total Atma, if you want to call it as Jiva Atma, Paramatma, whatever it is, terms you can use, it merges into that one entity, which is the infinite supreme entity. The moment you are able to destroy the equipment here is the mind. That is why the sadhana is to take our thoughts away. You cannot take away the thoughts directly. You can, because thoughts are innumerous in us, multiple desires, as though it is infinite. You can try and bring more and more focus to that thought. Make that thought qualitatively superior. Now it is very gross, quantitatively large, qualitatively less. Make it qualitatively more, the quantity at the grosser level, the thoughts will reduce. Keep on this process more and more till it becomes focused more and more. And ultimately it will come, or we can try and bring it to the point of single pointed focus. That's about all. Until the state of meditation that it can come. How and where it will disappear, we do not know. But a point of realization is where the thought snaps. And what remains is the Supreme Self. So, until that point of time, there is, you can say, duality, there is mind, there is everything, you and sadhana, everything is there. At that point of time, the total merger happens. So, the broad spectrum of the universe is nothing but a creation or the play of the Brahman through the Antakarana or the equipments. That is the essence of this verse. Like the all-pervading space, the infinite reality appear to be diverse on account of its association with various types of equipments, Upadhis, and become one on their destruction. Yes, sir.
So what is the role of intellect in this and why it creates the duality? So I presume intellect helps you to destroy that mind.
Correct. So intellect is also your equipment, it is also your thought. And mind and intellect are functional differences of the thoughts. When the thought is in a fluid state by itself, when it goes uncontrollably emotional, that is called as mind. When you apply the thought, when you are conscious of the thought, that thought is the intellect. Therefore, using and developing the intellect, strengthening it, You are able to control the indiscriminate thought of the mind, and this process takes that focus. Focus is the aspect of intellect only. That focus comes up to the level of a single pointed focus. So ultimately, in that meditative stage, both the mind and intellect are destroyed. Even in the intellect has to destroy it. So in Swamiji's commentary of chapter 2, verse 53, this is dramatized very well. So Shruti Vipratipannate Yatastasyati Nischala, he says, aghast by what is, perplexed by what is heard, the intellect, Stuti Vipratipannate Yatastasyati Nischala Samadha Vachala Buddhi. He talks about the arresting of the movement of two levels, the movement from place to place and movement in a place. So the mind which was going through the last phase of sound and silence in the meditation, that snaps at one point of time. When the mind is not there, when the pair of opposite is not there, intellect has also no function. So intellect also dissolves finally. But intellect is the thing that you have to hold on to till the end. Finally, that also you will transcend.
Since the mind is not the intellect, has no role to play.
No role to play. No role to play. As it is. We'll continue. No problem.
Poornam Adah Poornamidam Poornat Poornamudachyate Poornasya Poornamadaya Poornamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.